Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We are coming out of the international dead zone, and we are straight into a title fight. Not a title decider, but someone's always got to go. Both teams are top, both teams have won every game. Our goal difference is a little bit better, mind you. And this is a game that is being billed quite firmly as maybe the make or break of Aberdeen's potential title challenge, or maybe even just their continued wrestle for that second position. But for us, this is going to be a very stern domestic test before we go and take on a very stern European test. In the video today, we're going to have a look at what expected lineup we should see from Celtic in this game, as well as what to expect from Aberdeen and how this game might actually pan out at any point in the video. If you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We are pushing for 10,000 subscribers and we're this close, boys and girls. So if you do like the content here, smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, and get into the comment section. And I want score predictions, I want shock predictions from you guys of what you think might happen. It's never boring when we play Aberdeen. In this situation as well, it just feels like it's got all the right ingredients there for an absolute fireworks football match. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Because Aberdeen's new manager, Jimmy Thielen, or Jimmy Phelan, whatever we're calling him, is, taking the SPFL by storm. He's really came in from the Scandinavian cold, as it were, into the Scottish cold and really hit the ground running. And it's a real good demonstration on what I've always thought about a lot of these other bigger teams that we have in Scotland, like your Aberdeens, your Hibs, your Heartses, these types of clubs, that if they could get their recruitment, manager and players just a little bit right, they could kind of tap into some untapped markets around Europe and around the world or whatever, then, they could quite easily be the third power in the league and maybe start to challenge into that second spot depending on how good the work that they do is. And I think that's been quite the consensus from everyone who's watched Aberdeen so far this season. 7 games, 7 wins. They've conceded a few more goals than we have, of course, but they've been very, very impressive. The back four has been rock solid and very consistent all the way throughout this season. But one thing that really does stand out for Aberdeen when you start to look over their fixtures and their form is the amount of different players that they actually do have now to call upon, that score goals, that get assists, that can actually impact the match. And really, even through the different rotations and the different shapes that we see here in the base of midfield, in the front four, and I include the players from the bench in that as well. I think they're really, they're exhibiting what I think a lot of people expected from Hearts. Hearts really do have quite a strong squad on paper, even on the bench, where they should be bringing on guys that can still win a match, that can still influence things. But Aberdeen are they could use 5 subs here and every one of those guys can add to the level they've got, can change the tactics in game, and are all, very credible footballers in their own right, in their own position. And whether it's Schulte, Nilsson, Clarkson in that middle three, could be Palaversa, Nilsson and Guy, Shinnie, Nilsson, Guy. They've got a few combinations that they can work with here to a greater or lesser extent, depending on the style of play, the actual game that they're trying to play against us. But they actually have a lot of goal scorers, a lot of forwards in their team as well. So if it is Nisbet, if it's Sockler, if it's Duke, Ambrose, even this Vincent Basuyan, who was quite impressive for them for a couple of games a few years ago or whatever, they've got actually a lot of weapons in the starting 11 and from the bench as well. And I sincerely do mean this will be the hardest test that we've faced domestically by a distance, because it's a nice style of play that Aberdeen have been exhibiting under Jimmy, as we'll call him. But the form of Jamie McGrath has been absolutely considerable, and the quality of players that he's brought in, like Kiskinen, Palaversa, Nisbet, on top of an already pretty decent squad. Aberdeen did fancy themselves to get into Europe last year. Bojan Miovski's obviously gone, we know about that. But they've also brought in Mitov from St Johnstone, who was a great goalkeeper last year. I know he's had a mare here against Aberdeen, against Hearts, I beg your pardon. But he's been a really solid goalkeeper in the division last year and now at Hearts. And that back four has been the same for every game, and I think they really do know their roles and responsibilities, and they've been doing pretty well at keeping the scoreline down and collecting the 2 clean sheets that they have already. But the one player that really stands out for me in this back line is Rubezic. I remember watching this guy, I think it was last year at Celtic Park, or yeah, it must have been last year. And this guy is a thug. This guy is going to make fouls. He's going to give away stuff like bookings. And, if we're in the counter attack, he is just going to wipe somebody out in the halfway line. So that's something that does catch my eye, that he is established in that defence now, alongside, Mackenzie and Devlin and Malloy, who are all pretty solid footballers themselves. Normally when we look at the opposition on this channel, there's 1 or 2 players to watch out for that could be something, but genuinely this entire squad has enough talent to pull off the manager's game plan, and that's a very dangerous balance that a squad can be in for anyone to come up against. Now, in terms of how we're going to line up, I'm not entirely sure on one or two spots as I record this with you tonight. I think it is going to be Scales and Carter Vickers. I think it was established or planned internally at Celtic that getting Carter Vickers back for Aberdeen and Atalanta was the goal, was the mission, and that's why you have Austin Trusty in the building to come in and, carry the water that he's done so far. Alistair Johnson, of course, has missed international duty despite playing for us in the final games before the window, so I think he's going to be fit and firing and ready to go. But it's left back is where the question marks become. Is Taylor actually fit? Is it going to be Valley? Now, again, this will be a theme for my assessment of the squad coming into this match, but this has to be the same team that goes against Atalanta for me. Coming out of an international break, yeah, sure, some of them have played, sure, some of them have travelled, you maybe need to, mitigate for that somewhere in the squad. I think ultimately it comes down to, let's see if Taylor's fit and available. Would you want Taylor against Atalanta? I'm not too sure if there's a definitive better option between the two of them in that regard, but I certainly think if Taylor is fit and available, I think he's earned the opportunity to play against Atalanta and try and right any wrongs of Dortmund before really all judgment can be passed on, the progress he's made over the last 2 or 3 years against, the better teams in the league. Valley did show promise against Borussia Dortmund and really every other time we've seen him. But if Taylor is fit, I'm not too sure that he is going to keep that jersey. I think Taylor could come back in here. But until we get further intel, I'm not too sure how that one's going to go. But I think my hunch tells me we're going to see Valley play. I'm not sure Taylor's actually going to be fit. Or maybe the contractual stuff. We've got a new head of football in. Maybe, I don't know. You never know. McGregor and Engels slot into this midfield with ease. Now, this Aberdeen midfield is actually pretty robust in terms of how hard hitting they can be. McGrath likes to come into the middle of the pitch when he can as well. And whether it is, Nelson, Shinnie, Palaversa, or, any other people that might come in and play, like, this kind of engine room that they've got going on is going to give us a good run for our game in the middle of the pitch. And although I think Bernardo might be a bit more suited to that battle that's there, that's with the connotations of this is a game that we might not win. Whereas when you're against an opposition like this, you'd want your match winner in here so that, as soon as, and I know Hatate hasn't been outstanding this year, but he's certainly been, for the most part, effective when needed, as well as McGregor. So whoever you want to think of it in terms of the midfield three, you want as many different match winners involved here so that when we do get the other side of them, when we do dominate possession, we're going to get opportunities earlier in the match rather than later on if we bring them on from the bench. But we also want to get as many opportunities quicker sooner rather than later. We don't want Aberdeen getting their foot on the ball. We don't want them getting into a rhythm in the match. We don't want them at 0-0 or if the scoreline's ever even becoming more threatening than us because, football for me, there's a lot of momentum involved in it. At Celtic Park, it takes a lot to get that momentum going for an away team, certainly, although, we've lost at Celtic Park before. It's not unheard of course. But the front three of Dyson, Kyogo and Kuhn is probably what's going to start for me. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Adam Ida against Rubezic and Malloy. But I do feel that, again, you've got to be picking this squad in preparation as well for one game at a time and all that, right? But you will be having one eye on the midweek in one way, shape or form. And I think you go out with the best 11. I don't think anyone would argue against that. But what is the best 11? For me, the question mark is on the left back, of course, but you have to be bringing in Hatate for me. You need to have someone else that can put more pressure on them in defence when they're trying to play into this zone here, and someone that we can get on the ball and can drive at people, can slide someone else in with a pass, and Rio's just got way more of that in abundance for me. But the second half is going to become a battle of the benches, and our bench is probably one of the shining lights or one of the great improvements that we've seen from last season to this. But like I mentioned before, Aberdeen, in relative terms of scale and whatever, they're not too far behind us for a team of their budget, the quality they have on the starting 11 and on the bench here. So this is going to be an entire 90-minute encounter. So even if the manager did start with like a Bernardo or a Taylor, I think we're going to see 5 subs in this game is kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't think we'll be withholding one sub to see how it goes to the end. I think we'll have 2 or 3 subs around the 60-65 minute mark, which, Ida for Kyogo, we know that's going to happen. Hatate for Bernardo, sure, that's probably going to happen as well at some point. But with James Forrest missing Scotland duty, maybe being injured or something, again, details and reports at this stage are rather unclear. I don't think you can take Kuhn off. I don't think you can take Dyson off because Palma and Yang won't help us in this game. And Forrest could do the job, I think. But if he's not fit, the only other sub of note that could really come in and change this somehow is Luke McEwen. And again, where would you really put him into the picture if we're keeping McGregor and Engels on the pitch, and let's say you've brought your Bernardo on already, and it gives us some interesting headaches potentially depending on how this match is going, the momentum of the game, the scoreline as it evolves throughout the 90 minutes, of course. And, I think all things being equal and everything being great, we should be really solid at the back. We really should be limiting their chances and their opportunities. But we are going to dominate possession. We are going to get into their half. And teams breaking away on the counter-attack with Kiskinen, somebody with the quality of McGrath and Guy with an absolute poacher, and Nisbet in here who can score all types of goals at this level, certainly. Anyway, we are playing a team with genuine threat, and you can't get too ahead of yourself at any stage of the match in this one. So the sub-dynamic will be a really interesting kind of subplot of what goes on here, especially if there is any tactical tweaks. We see any really distinctive changes of shape to deal with Aberdeen as we kind of maybe roll subs on. But like I say, I would imagine this to be a 5-sub match in terms of, Celtic's prep and minute management, squad management, all that kind of thing. But, if Forrest isn't there, if Taylor isn't there, there's not actually more than 3 subs you would happily put on in this game and think if it's tight, they'll get us over the line. Now, if we're winning by a couple of goals, I'm sure we'll see Palm, I'm sure we'll see Yang. You could even see Ralston. But that's in a best case scenario. I think if we've dominated the match, we've won the first half convincingly. It's a very important style of play for us, I think. Our game management, as it were, where we want to start quick, we want to score the first goal, we want to get into half time with, not the game won. I don't think anyone has that attitude, but you just want to put your opponent at arm's distance and keep them there for the entire game. And that's the way we like to play. Front foot, full throttle, from the first whistle, in your face, pressing, attacking football. And, if Aberdeen are going to sit in and let us do that, I really do hope that, the likes of Kyogo and Kuhn, who have not been on international duty, Engels has been capped again for Belgium, should be walking on sunshine. Hitate's still got a point to prove in Hellraiser. And I think, the defence has been mad solid. We have been a clean sheet machine. If we did get a clean sheet against Aberdeen, then I think that really does add a lot of credibility to the clean sheet run that we've had domestically to this point. I really do. This is going to be a really tough game to call, but if I had to go for a scoreline on this, I'm going to take Celtic to win this by 3-1. It might be tight. We might need to get the goal later on, from a 2-1 situation to a 3-1. I've got a feeling this Rubezic is going to give us a penalty or get booked really early in the game. I don't think he'll get sent off. I think his discipline's been okay this year in that regard, but this guy's going to give us some fouls. I can feel it, so I think we are going to get the better of them. But Mitov is a good keeper. He'll be making some saves, make no two ways about it. And this Palaversa, by the way, not really mentioned him in the video. I don't really hear many people talking about him. But again, I've been an admirer of this guy for a number of years. He's coming out of the City Football Group, this Man City Academy, and Croatia Youth International. Very, very proficient at set pieces. Like, with him, Kiskinen, a bit of a Scandinavian wonder kid. They've got a few wild cards, a few joker cards, as it were, in play here. So maybe Aberdeen score first, and then we come back to 2-1, and then maybe later on it's 3-1 or something. We go one up, they make it 1 each. It's a tight stage of the game, and then maybe it generally just breaks down for them. We go 2-1 and 3-1. I think it's going to be nip and tuck here. It's going to be a tight one, despite it being 3-1. If that makes sense. If you're going to the game, travel safe, have a lot of fun. Don't forget to get into the comment section and let me know your score predictions or your shock predictions for this match. Is it like a Rubezic red card penalty situation, or maybe something more catastrophic or whatever, who knows. But yeah, always interested to catch the comments on this one. And if you've got any funny hunch feelings, get them into the comment section of this one. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made the YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Have a great weekend. Hail, hail, and moan the hoops.